the masking rule pens and the glass dip pens. Hey peeps! Welcome to the Crafty Witch UK. My name is Arietta, and today I want to showcase two of the items that I got in my recent order from Globleland. So these were the masking rule pens and the glass dip pens. So I thought that I would show them off to you by doing a piece of artwork and talking you through how I use them. Obviously, as with all art materials, there are 1,000,001 different ways that they can be used, and for every person that you speak to, they'll probably have a slightly different way of doing it. So, small caveat just to say this is how I use them, and you know, what works for me may not work for you. But if you've got a technique that I'm unaware of, do let me know down in the comments, because I am always down for trying and learning new things. As I'm sure you as artists are also interested in learning new things. So I've got this little tiny piece of watercolor paper here. It is 300-gram watercolor paper from Tiger. So it's not the expensive stuff, but it does the job, and I like it because it's glued around the edges, so it doesn't tend to buckle up. I thought I would do just a simple picture using these tools, and yeah, I'll show you what I do. So let's start with the masking rule pens. I'll show you with the larger one first because it's easier to see. So all the pens are the same. They are sort of two blades that come down to a point, and the gap between the two blades is controlled by this wheel here. You can see as I open them up, they will come much wider, and then you can tighten them to a close point. For the purposes of what I'm doing, I want them to be about 1 millimeter apart, but you may find that you are more comfortable with a different width. Use this as you would a fountain pen, and when you are marking the page with it, you want to have the gap between them facing you. So you're going to be working like this. So they come in 3 different sizes, and you will find that different sizes are more comfortable for different things. I like the big one. So I'm going to be using it with masking fluid. This is the Winsor & Newton one. There are several different companies out there that sell it, and it comes in a few different colours. Just so you can see it on the page, this is tinted slightly yellowy. This, when I first started using it, I was applying it with a tatty old paintbrush because it will ruin your brushes. It will gum them up because it's basically like a liquid latex. And you'll see when you can see all the gungy yuckiness. So yeah, you can imagine trying to clean stuff like this off your paintbrushes would not be fun. Whereas using a masking rule pen, there's no brushes for it to get all caught in. It's going to be absolutely fine. Now, I don't want to be dipping the length of my pen into here, so I'm just going to pour a little bit into the lid. As you can see, I'm just going to dip that in, and you can see it's collected some of the masking fluid between those blades, and then I can draw with it. I'm just gonna do a squiggly wiggly tree because it means I can show off a little bit what the pen can do, and you'll notice that you can go for quite a while before it runs out of masking fluid, and you'll find that certain directions of using, so there you go, see, it's empty, all gone. But yeah, you'll find that certain directions of use are more comfortable for you than others. You may decide that you want thicker lines, and of course if you want thicker, you can change the width using the screw, or you can just go over existing lines. So in this case we are just going for like a gnarly old tree with bare branches. We don't need to be too precious about any of it. The main thing is to just be careful not to scratch into the paper too much, because you might find it difficult to remove afterwards if you do that. And if you find that the pen is getting too gummed up where it's drying, you can just clean it and then carry on.
Little roots down the bottom here.
And obviously because this is tinted yellow, we are able to see it on the page. But if you find that you're struggling, you can just tilt the page to the light and then you'll be able to see what we're up to. So I think we're probably about there. Little bit of grass, and see if we can't manage a signature at the bottom. There we go. Okay, so we now need to wait for that to completely dry. So using masking fluid is not a quick process. So you do need to be a little bit patient, because if you go too early, it will ruin your page. So I'm just going to pop that to one side and we will come back to that when it is dry. Okay, so this is all dry now. It is still shiny, but it is now uniformly yellow instead of, it's a darker yellow now rather than the pale yellow of the liquid. So move those over to one side. To add colour to this image, I'm going to be using Brusho powders because they are my very favourite. They are a really strong powdered pigment that you then add water to set them, if you like. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of the green down and a little bit of the brown down on the earth area, and then we'll pop a little bit of turquoise in the air, in the sky, maybe a tiny bit of the ultramarine. We'll see where that gets us to start with. So now I've got my little spray bottle of water, so I'm just going to spray from above, and you'll see that starts coming to life. At this stage, if you want to, you can go in with a sponge and you can blot areas that you want damper. So I'm just going to add to the sort of sky area. And remember to use a different bit of sponge if you're going in for a different colour. Right, I'm going to add some more earthy tones down the bottom, just a little bit, I think. I'm going to go in with a bit of orange. Add a little bit of purple. You really don't need very much. You'll see when I... There we go. And then yet again, once we're happy with how this is looking. It's just a matter of letting it dry again. Okay, so this is all dry now, and I'm just very, very carefully going to use my finger to just bring you down a bit so you can see what's happening. Just using my finger to just pick up those bits of masking fluid very carefully, because we don't want to damage the paper underneath. You can see as we remove the masking fluid, we are revealing the white page underneath. Okay, so we are left with some grubby fingers and a little pile of masking boogers and our picture. Now, you may love this as is, or you can go back in and add some more details, whether that with paints or pencils or whatever else you would like. Just because I also want to show you how to use the glass tip pens, I'm going to use the glass tip pens. So we've got some lovely colours. This is just regular dip ink. So with our pens, aside from being just beautiful works of art, they have got this spiral design here, and that is what will pick up the ink and allow you to write with it. Before we get into the picture, we'll do a little writing test. Okay, so just like you would with any quill pen, I'm going to dip it in, and you can see it's sucked that ink up into those grooves, and we're now going to write. So this is a pen test. So this paper does bleed quite a lot because it is watercolour paper, but also you may find that some of the pens will write slightly thicker than others. So you can see though that the pen is still holding quite a lot of ink, and you can still write. You know, we can go for quite a while before we have to dip again, and you may find that if it gets a little bit choppy, you feel like you're running out, turning the pen can sometimes help, because that will just encourage that ink to swirl downwards. And then you can see that's sort of all gone now. And if we wanted to change our ink colour, we could just rinse it off in some water, dry it on a bit of tissue, and we are ready to go again into any other colour that we want to use. It really is that simple when it comes to these pens. If you get one and you find that the end is a little bit scratchy, which sometimes can happen, an emery board or some very fine sandpaper will just take that edge off. Yeah, you'll find they're incredibly comfortable to hold. This is a really nice shape, and they're just beautiful to look at. We're going to use it to add some additions to this picture. So here I'm just going to follow these lines up the tree trunk with the yellow, which will, you don't have to follow them exactly, because where there is yellow you will where there is white you will see more yellow, but on other areas it will pick up those colours and mix them in. Very, very roughly, just adding to that sort of tree texture. Essentially here we are just recreating what we did with the masking fluid, but using a different colour and building up a layer and a texture. There is no right or wrong way to what we're doing. What looks good, what works for you, and we can build up this kind of woody texture that way. And I'm going to add a little bit down into these areas that we did some roots. it also helps to sort of integrate the masking fluid into, or the masked areas I should say, into the painting a little bit better. So it looks a little bit more deliberate and a bit less like, oh, you masked an area off, and so it becomes a technique rather than a cheat, I guess, is one way of looking at it. So rinse that off. Let's just pop the lid on that one. I'm going to go in with a little bit of green. Just going to fill in these reeds at the base and add some kind of vine going up the tree. You might want to add maybe sort of some leaves, or I'm gonna just add some little details down the bottom, just to add to the idea that there is some foliage down here, plants and mosses and things growing. That purple was very purpley, but we will see how it reacts with that yellow, whether we can just, yeah, see if we go over the top of the yellow, it's not quite as vibrant and we get more of a brown tone, I suppose. But again, we're just squiggly lines making our tree. There are a couple of places where I've put a little bit more than I would have liked to, but that's fine. So I'm just going to pop a bit more yellow on there to combat some of that bright purple. It's just, in this case, it's just about kind of going in and building up layers of colour, squinting at it from afar, seeing whether you like it or not, and if you don't, just keep working at it. Might use some of this green to add in some more shadow. We've got a light source. All nice and clean again. I'm going to go with a gold, I think, just because I think it's better at emulating this idea that the sun is hitting that side of the tree. But we want to be very, very sparing with it. We can use it in exactly the same way. Okay, so yeah, sure. Rinse that pen up, pop the gold away. So yeah, this is just, you know, super quick little experiment here, really, using the masking fluid with the rule pens and then going in using some dip ink with these really beautiful dipping pens. So I'm going to leave this here. Hopefully you have been inspired to go and try this on your own. Let me know down in the comments if you've got any techniques that you would either like to see me try or that you've tried yourself and have found have worked really well. I will pop a link to the original unboxing of these items in the description, and you can of course pop over to Globleland and treat yourself to some glass dipping pens or some masking wall pens using my discount code, which you'll find on the screen now. So that's all for today. I hope that you've enjoyed this. Please let me know down in the comments if you have. Leave a like, share, subscribe, become a member of the Crafty Covenant, and I will see you in the next one. Stay crafty.